Hi, Deborah.
Hi, Mark.
Here we go again. Um, so, leading up to Valentine's Day, we get a chance to talk about love and relationships, and your concept of quantum love and how that plays in today's world. How is it? How is it that what is it that we need to look at in that?
Well, actually, we don't really need to look at anything.
Me though.
We don't need to look at anything, really.
Yeah.
Because everything is already... What is quantum love? That it's a love that's eternal, infinite, perfect. It's the perfect love that we already are, always have been. And nothing's ever changed. It's us who thinks there's something wrong with us. But I'm here to remind you that there's nothing wrong. We're already loved, and we've never left that.
How have we lost sight of that?
One of the ways we've lost sight of it is that we believe we're the body and the mind. We believe that that's all we are. And that's kind of sad when you think about it, because how do you keep the body and the mind at a level of perfection? It's hard, isn't it?
There's no such thing, really, is
There's
there?
no such thing, really, no. Perfection is something else, something other than that. Perfection is knowing that we are already perfect, and knowing that everything in this world is already perfect. Nothing's changed. It's already perfect. Now, it sounds far-fetched, but it's the truth. It's like that saying, which is, we're not just human beings striving to have a spiritual experience. We're actually spiritual beings simply having a human experience. So that makes things very different. And I know a lot of people have heard this term, but to really understand it is to really feel the essence of that statement. And now let's take a look at it. Like, for example, when we say we're not just human beings striving to have spiritual experiences, well, why would we have to strive if we're already that? If we are already the quantum love, why would we have to strive? Because we're already the spiritual beings having a human experience. So there's a difference here.
So what do you think we're striving for? What do you think we're striving for? Why do we strive?
Well, because we don't feel that we're enough. How can we be enough in this human form? We can't. We think we're in a human form. That's why we strive. We believe we're the body, and we see the world through the eyes of the body. We see each other through the eyes of the body. But to see through the eyes of quantum love or spirit, it's a whole other thing.
Would quantum love be similar, or as an unconditional love? Or is it bigger than that even?
Well, unconditional love is a symptom or a side effect of it, but it's bigger than that. It's in everything. Everywhere we go, there's quantum love. Everything we look at is quantum love. Everyone we speak to, same thing.
So in the context of Valentine's Day and relationship, it's the conditionality that we bring into the love that removes us, that pushes quantum love farther away from our...
Yeah, well, it can never go further away. It's already us. We're already pure. We're already perfect. But it makes us feel that we've done something wrong. We believe we're the body. All of our tendencies come up, our ego tendencies, which then creates the energy of separation from ourselves, each other, and the world. And that's the real problem here.
So how is it then that what do we need to do differently? How do we need to approach? How do a man and like let's take it into a place of in the here and now. How would a man and a woman coming that have been in a relationship for a long time and it's Valentine's Day, what could they do on that special day to bring them more into a place of quantum love?
Okay, good question. Well, on that day, or on any day, to come to a place of quantum love it's kind of like taking off a coat, a heavy coat that you've been wearing for a long time, that's been a burden to you. And when we take off the coat, we begin to recognize that I've always been free. I've always loved this person. What am I thinking? They've always loved me. You know, all of the scrabbles and problems that we come up against in our day-to-day life move away because we both recognize that we're already love. Really, that's the best thing that we can do. If there's anything, of course, we're not the doer of actions, but if we want to do something or think we're doing something, then bring it to a place of seeing innocence in each other, feeling the gratitude for each other.
So looking beyond the physical.
Looking beyond the physical, yeah, because the physical, you'll see all their flaws, all their foibles, but if you start looking at them through a different kind of eye, the eyes that see eternity, infinity, you'll see the light that resides in them and the love that we've always felt for them, if it's your partner, or for anyone for that matter, even strangers.
So in a loving relationship, the thing that pushes people apart then is what? Is our judgments on each other?
Our judgments on each other, yeah. Well, because what we do is we project onto each other. We take what's inside of us, our anger, say, or, you know, it didn't go well at work that day. You come home to your wife or the dog, whatever, and yell at them for something. Something like a piece of paper towel, or, you know, it could be anything. You know what relationships are like. The smallest thing can create a huge problem. So the important thing is to recognize that, oh, that anger that went onto the paper towel and then onto my partner came from me. In fact, I was the one that put it onto her. And so that's what really causes the problem, is our projections onto each other. And they can be, you know, little things. It can be the smallest thing or a large thing, but it doesn't matter.
So taking responsibility for some of that darkness, rather than attributing it to the other person, we need to realize that it's our own.
We need to realize that it's our own, yeah. It's always our own. There's only us. There's only one thing going on. Everyone is us. Everywhere you look, you see yourself.
Little mirrors for each other.
Yeah, but we look at these mirrors in a negative way. But if we looked at the mirrors through quantum love, in other words, if we saw the perfection of this world, of everyone in it, of everything in it, it would be a different experience. And it would be a true Valentine's Day.
And that love exists. It's just that our ability or our capacity to see it is what has to shift.
That's right. That's what has to shift, yeah. And why do we see it that way? Well, because we believe we're just this body personality, this me, this I, and we appropriate everything to that. So that everything that goes on is appropriated to ourself, which is our ego self. And that's the big problem. The greatest suffering in the human being is not seeing beyond that, not seeing each other divinely, not being able to look at each other and see the perfection past the ego That's where we have the problem.
And then within ourselves, moving beyond the anger or the little foibles that we recognize in each other, and
Right.
acknowledging that it's love that we feel.
That's right. Because you can feel that love. It's just covered over, just like that coat I was mentioning. This big, heavy coat of stuff, if you will. Beliefs, actually constructs, mental constructs and ideas of how life should be. And that means that, and that means that, and then this means that. And before you know it, you're in a little ball, and you've lost everything. You've lost that feeling of that love that you already are. And what's made you lose it, the belief that you're doing everything, I'm an I, and so there I must do it. And so when you do that, then there's all this business that takes place, and you lose the sense of everything having a perfection.
So when we're in our ego then, and we're trying to, well, we're not trying to do anything, we're allowing the openness that we work towards in consciousness or enlightenment then is just a feeling of allowing, not of doing
Well, we
necessarily.
can't do anything. That's the point. We can do nothing. That's where our problems are. Our suffering is so great because we think we have to do it all. I mean, seriously, take a look at it when you think, you just look at the immensity of this world. What can you do? What really can you do? Do you know what it's like when you get really overwhelmed? What can you do at that point but surrender?
That's the ultimate place we come to, isn't it? That to surrender.
Yeah.
And that's when our freedom becomes
That's right.
apparent.
It's a surrender where you just have to give up and just go, okay. Everything is what it is. Everything is what it is. I am what I am. They are what they are. Life is what it is. Because we try and try and try in a certain direction and it doesn't work. And then we beat on ourselves or beat on our partners, at one level or another because we're disappointed. And it's not necessary. It's not necessary.
So do you think the structure of our relationships is difficult to get to that place in, or what is it in our modern society that is such an impediment to finding that easy, relaxed, pure love that everyone really wants so badly?
Well, the impediment again is the fact that everyone believes they're the doer of action, and there's an I there. No I, no suffering. When we reach a place one day where we recognize that, oh my God, I'm not the one that does all this. In fact, I couldn't be the one that does all this. But somehow we're always trying to control the world, really, in a certain way. And it's uncontrollable.
So in trying to control the world, we also end up trying to control each other.
That's right.
And that is a recipe for disaster in a relationship.
Exactly. But when we see that everything is perfectly in its right place, regardless of what it looks like, it doesn't mean that your natural inclination wouldn't be to help or to do something. You're still going to do things. You're still going to work. You're still going to get married, have children, whatever it is that you do, or so it looks like. But there's something going on that's much greater. This infinite love is just moving along. But we claim it. It's like claiming the garbage, whatever we do, we claim it. The ego grabs the garbage. That's an important point, I think, to remember when we're feeling like garbage. Oh, I think the ego must have grabbed the garbage. I identified myself as being this person that's this way, and that way, so I grabbed the garbage here that played into that. So, in other words, I kind of lost myself and lost a sense of the oneness that I am, the infinity that we are.
Isn't a big part of that as well the conditioning that we go through from the time we're born, like where we are conditioned into believing that things are mine, that there's a possessiveness, that, you know, we want to not, we don't enter into a relationship. Initially, you already pointed out that there's that headiness that we might be in touch with
Right.
quantum love originally, but then somehow we bring it into this physical realm, and we obscure that pure love that was there.
Well, that's a really good example, because when we first meet someone and fall in love, all you see is light. You notice that when you're in a relationship at the beginning and everything's beautiful and
That's awesome.
pure light, and this person is like an angel from heaven, and you know, so you're basically seeing that infinity. You're seeing that eternal being that we all are, but you're getting to see that in that person. And this may go on for, I don't know, there's time frames in therapy. Some say it's a year, some say it's 6 months, sometimes it's a month even. And then after that, what happens? Okay, the ego starts to come up. You start to notice little things. You start to go judge the other person. You come home from work, so say you've moved in with them, and you're not having a good day at work, or finances aren't good. So what do? You grab all that, and then you think it's their fault. They did it, and if they weren't here, I would have been fine. So then slowly you fall out of that sense of quantum love into quantum guilt, which is, I've written that book, so you might want to look at that. We're not going to get into that today. But the quantum guilt, which is the energy of separation. So that's what happens. We go from the energy of oneness, of love, to the energy of separation. And it's a horrible feeling. Because we love the other person, that's why it's so painful. Because love brings up everything but itself.
So we break up because of all the other garbage, but then when we've broken up, that garbage is gone, and then we're left with the love that we felt for them
That's right.
at one time.
Yeah, that's what happens, and you're getting back to that light again, because that's what your initial connection was that light and love. So it's really important to know this. It's really important to know that it comes from you, and it is a gift. To have a partner is a gift, or to have some kind of connection with a partner that way is a gift, because they mirror for us some of our deepest things, our deepest fears, our deepest pain. And in a way, it's a good thing, because we can become free within that relationship.
And I guess how else would we become conscious of those issues going on?
And again, what is the suffering? The suffering is the belief that you're separate, the belief that you're not good, that you're guilty, but the guilt is really a separation, which we can get into another time. But basically, we're dealing with quantum love turns to quantum guilt. And that's all because, in other words, quantum love turns to separation energy. When the ego comes in, the ego being I, me, I did it, I am, I, then there's no room for anybody else when there's an I. No I, no suffering. It's easier said than done, of course. It happens when it happens, and when the I, they say enlightenment pops the I, but it's not something to worry about, other than the fact that to remember that you're not just a spiritual being, or a human being, striving to have a spiritual experience. You're already that. That's the most important thing to remember.
And the easiest thing to forget.
And the easiest thing to forget. And in that way, we can keep ourselves and our relationships a lot more, what's the word? Peaceful.
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 Loving.
Loving.
Yeah, it seems like we get all bogged down
We
in
get
the
bogged down.
in the details of
Totally
everyday
bogged down.
life. And
Absolutely, yeah. Everyday life is,
we forget how to love each other.
we do. Totally. So that's really the problem of this. This is why we fall out of quantum love
And move into the guilt part.
and move into the guilt part. Yeah. And then have trouble with our family, our partners, our workmates, all of it.
Because it's so easy to get angry with somebody and then choose to never talk to them anymore.
Oh,
Or isolate them from your life.
there's terrible isolation going on right now. The isolation is terrible, really, when you look at it. Our families are all over the world. No one's close often anymore. And part of it is, again, people don't have time to look out there and see the innocence in another. Because it takes looking at yourself first in order to do that. And no one wants to do that.
So
I'm
if
not
we
saying
can,
no one. There are people that do, of course. I'm not saying they don't, but a lot of beautiful people that do. But the people that are having the really hard time and turn away, they're turning away from a gift. They're turning away from something that could bring them to that infinite love.
so if we're not able to find the innocence and love within ourselves, then we'll never be able to feel it from another person.
No. No. Although you can, in a relationship, look over there and see, find a good quality. What do you like about that person? What do you love about that person? Have some gratitude about what they've given you. And that's a start.
So even without thanking them out loud, you can
You can
acknowledge
thank
in
them.
your heart.
Yeah, even when you're really angry. And that way it can soften it a little bit.
Well, it sounds like an important bit of advice for people on Valentine's Day is to
Yeah.
find what's beautiful and loving
Yeah,
in your partner, that what brought us together in the first
well,
place.
for sure. And for the whole world, for everything. For us, just to see that everything is perfect. Everything is light. Everything is love. Even though it doesn't look that way, there's still a perfection to it. And I just want to read a little passage from the Yajur Veda. And it talks about what this quantum, eternal love is all about. It's just a little passage. I'm not going to do it in Hindi.
Okay.
But here it is, translated. Om. That is perfect. This is perfect. From the perfect springs the perfect. If the perfect is taken from the perfect remains. So that's quantum love.